Good. Marlo's not coming. Welcome, everyone. This is October 31st, 2021. This is the...
It's not October 31st.
10 days.
10 days.
October 21st. Thank you. All right, we'll start over here. This is the Webster, New Hampshire Planning Commission meeting. We're also having a public hearing on the second reading of the wetlands ordinance. Before we get to the wetlands ordinance, we have a couple issues that we need to deal with. There are two driveways here. One is, before I get into that, we need to take attendance.
Yep.
So, Paul, are you here?
Yeah.
Paul King, Craig Fournier, Eddie Meyer,
Yep.
And Susan Youngs.
Susan Youngs, we have four, and
Russell.
Russell Tatro. Okay. The Steels have come before the board in the past. This is just information for people who may not know. But they built a driveway off of Dustin Road without a valid driveway permit. And the fire chief looked at it and said that it's a problem because there was a 15% grade that ended in a sharp turn, and that wouldn't do. So anyway, we all went up and looked at it, and we think we have a solution, and we're going to hear about that solution tonight.
Dan Higginson with Higginson Land Services. So I dropped you off some full-size plans that I colored up a little bit because there's a lot of lines on here to make it easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. Okay, go ahead.
So the part that was 15+% with the big sweeping hook in it, we've basically done away with that completely and straightened it out as much as we can. And we've got 11% of that entire straight part. There's a pretty good cut and a pretty good fill opposite it on the cuts on the top and the fill is on the bottom. We've made it blend from where the red car was parked down at the bottom, blending from the existing grade up to 11%. And then at the crest where it comes back into the existing driveway, we blend back out. And there's a proposed turnaround right up to the top there where it's flat, so there's plenty of room for the trucks to get off the side. It's a side by each, not a nose-in turnaround, so you can just pull over. So that that took care of that part, as we talked about. I did look at the opposite side. Addie had mentioned maybe making that sweep larger, and it wasn't. This was a lot cleaner way to do it. The other way, there was going to be a corner with a fill slope that would have been similar situation to what we had, which was obviously what we were trying to avoid.
Yep.
So I think that took care of the bottom part pretty well, and then up top, there was a couple spots that were about 15. By lengthening the road a little bit and making a more sweeping curve, I was able to get it down to 13%. So we're under that 15% threshold over the whole driveway where the previous plan had been approved at 15. So we've made it better than that. There is another turnaround. The existing turnaround up on the flat area that was a nose in, we're going to propose to make a side by each at the bottom of that other hill. So you can see from turnaround bottom to turnaround to turnaround to top. That was, I think, pretty much the gist of what we've gone over at the site walk. So I guess
We got two turnouts?
yeah. So there's one right there, and then one right there. Yeah. And then the bottom area where it was pretty flat anyway, there's plenty of room to get by. I mean, I could have labeled the whole thing turnout because it's there's adequate room down there. So the red is the cut sections, and the purple is the fill sections, and brown is the new road.
So there's no bump outs at all up through here?
Nope, that's pretty steep through there at 11%. So the bump outs, you'd have a hard time getting going again. So the idea was that you could stop at the top or the bottom. And you'll be able to see from the top to the bottom. It's not a straight shot, but with the cut and fill, you'll be able to see over the crest down to,
There's that culvert right up top there.
yep.
You see that?
Well, I'm just a little concerned because you got basically two bump outs in 1,800 feet.
Okay. I mean, if we need to have one in the middle, we certainly can do that. It's not really the most conducive place for it. It'd probably be more hazardous than anything.
Yeah.
When we were on the sidewalk, we talked about it. It was, you could stop at the bottom, you could stop at the top and see if anybody was going, and then, make the hill in either direction. So, while it seems like there's certainly not a lot of them, you can see long distances because it's a relatively straight drive.
This is, yeah, it's not the idea of the straight drive, it's the idea that the fire trucks have so much hose on their trucks. So if they're gonna feed one truck to the other, they have to be within, that's why we made it to within 300 feet. So it's not the idea of line of sight, it's the idea of the fire trucks.
Okay, when we were on the sidewalk, that had never come up, and it was just, it was a line of sight passing type issue for vehicle
Well,
traffic.
that too, but, so this is the top here,
That's the bottom.
this is the bottom, where
Yep.
the road is here,
Yep,
the gate goes in here.
yep,
Right.
And this is the top,
yes.
so you've got
So if
one
they,
there and one there,
if they had to stage, then
and
they
you could
could,
have one down here at
Yep.
the bottom.
yeah, so if they had to stage, there'd be 3 different places where they could stage and transfer water. And you could also do it up at the top. There's gonna be adequate room where the house is. So there's really 4 places where they could get side by side to stage from one truck to the other.
They could probably park down here.
You could park numerous trucks down there
Yeah.
without problem, and then they could shuttle up.
Do you have any comments?
I think it looks good. I think it does what we asked last time.
Now, he's still gonna do a waiver? Were you guys still planning on doing the waiver?
Not
Oh.
if
If-
you pass this, we don't need a waiver.
Okay.
That's my
I
understanding.
thought we talked about that though, didn't we?
It's a possibility, but it's not our preference. Our preference was to
Right.
have a
Yeah.
design made that would be acceptable.
Emmett's not around.
No, he had
Meeting.
another meeting to
Yeah.
go.
I'd say as long as he's cool with it, I don't have a problem with it. If you guys, what do you guys got any?
I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
Emmett looked at it.
Yeah,
He was,
he's looked at this plan?
no, I don't know,
Yeah.
when we went up.
This
looked
Right,
at it,
right,
section
right.
through here is
It's
one
fill.
grade.
Yep,
What's the grade?
11%.
11%.
Yep.
And what's this in the middle here?
It's 11% the whole way.
The whole way.
Yep.
I mean, what is, it looks like you got it boxed out. for
Yeah,
some
so
reason.
so there's a cut on the top and a fill on the bottom, and that's the area where it daylights, where the actual ground happens to just be where the road will be.
So can we put a bump out in there?
That's still gonna be the 11%.
11% grade. I don't think you want to bump on it.
It's not gonna do anybody any good.
I think we're okay because you can park a lot of trucks
Yeah,
down
the
there.
idea of parking the trucks here is fine, but, as I'm saying, the trucks only carry so much hose on their trucks,
Right.
and they have to be able to reach from one truck to the other to feed the fire, which is
Well, what's the distance?
2,000 feet up in.
What's the distance from here to that turnout? roughly?
From the bottom station 200, and the first turnout is station 1,000, so about 800 feet. Nope, sorry, it's 800 feet with the hook in it, so it's probably about 650 feet on a straight shot. So I'm not very versed in firefighting.
Right, that's,
So, I mean, if there's a truck at the top, and is there gonna be another one 300 feet back hooked to it, and another one 300 feet back hooked to it, and so on?
It's entirely possible.
Yeah,
Okay.
Because
I would, I
if we
would
go to
say,
a house
yes,
fire,
Okay,
right? Emmett, I mean, he should just look at this and make sure it's all, if he wanted to add one more turnout in it or whatever, just
yeah,
because
if he wants
at
another turnout,
300
we can
feet,
we
if-
can certainly accommodate it, you know.
Yeah, I don't, like I said, I don't know much about the fire trucks setup, pumping water up,
Neither do I, I'm not.
yeah. If
But
he
I know that's 11%, but I would feel safer if we had something there in case we needed it. I mean, when you come in with a fire truck, you're gonna park it. You're not gonna worry about going up the hill.
So 11% is pretty steep. If you're parking on 11%, you're gonna need tire
Locks.
chocks,
Yeah.
make sure that your brakes are in really good shape. I mean, I wouldn't be parking a truck on an 11% slope, especially a loaded fire truck. And especially if there could be the potential of weather, snow, ice, whatever, that's just that's a bad idea.
Yeah, oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's no tire chains.
No,
Yeah,
I wouldn't feel comfortable putting a turnout on that slope.
So this is all 13%?
From 1750 around the corner up to 1950 is 13%. That new section is a consistent 13%.
Yeah, and it used to be
That doesn't
50,
bother me so
right?
much.
Correct. Yep. And it's a kind of a wider sweeping curve that's
Yeah.
more manageable. And again, it's on it's a relatively flat area. There's not a big slope that you're gonna slide off on
Yeah.
potentially.
Right.
yeah, there's not much you can do about the top of it.
Those are Emmett's biggest concerns, where the
Yeah.
truck's sliding off onto,
Over the back.
over ditches and
Yeah.
embankments and stuff. And the 11% slope through there, I mean, it was really his idea. He said, see what you can get out of it, and I
Yeah.
think we were talking 12 or 13, we got 11.
Yeah.
He never made any mention to a bump out, on that section. He seemed very comfortable, not to put words in his mouth, but he seemed very comfortable
Yeah.
with the location of the bump outs when we were out there talking about it. That was one of the biggest things that I wanted to glean from him was, hey, okay, you have your regulations every 300 feet, but if you look at the situation here, you can see from here to here, you can see from here to here, and he seemed good with that when we were out there. And the needing every 300 feet for connection from truck to truck, you never, if it came up in conversation, I either wasn't there or I didn't realize it.
I think probably we just have him look at it and just run that by him, tell him what the distance is from here to here,
Yep,
right? And
Yep.
if he's good with it,
yep, as long as Emmett's good with it.
yeah, do
Yeah.
it.
Well,
Can we do a conditional approval?
That was gonna
that's
be
what
my
I was
question.
just gonna suggest, is do a
Do a conditional
condition
approval.
on Emmett's approval.
Yeah.
I'm Emmett looking at it and saying.
Do you wanna make a motion
Oh, dear.
here, please?
I guess I move that we approve this driveway plan with the condition that Emmett check it over and make sure it's okay. On the plan.
I second it. It's good.
All in favor of Stu's motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous.
Russell, will you follow up with me with that once Emmett's looked at it?
Yes, I will.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for
Thanks.
coming in.
Yet again.
No problem.
Yeah.
Okay, the next item is the driveway permit, 2110 John Collins. Come on up.
I don't know if everybody's seen the driveway at all.
I haven't.
I took pictures, so
Oh,
you
you
can see.
did?
Well,
Excellent.
I took a look at it. Let's open up the meeting then before we make any kind of comments.
Yeah, did you go up with that? Okay.
No, I went up by myself.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for
You're
doing
welcome.
this. This is quite nice. So my understanding, there are two houses up there already on 11-3 and 11-4.
Yes, 11.3 and 11.4. 11.3 is the last picture on in that group showing a single driveway to that lot.
That is when I went out to look at it, that was considered to be do not enter, no trespassing. so I did not go into the driveway.
Oh, I didn't see that sign. They have some
Well,
kind
there's
of,
something right there.
Yeah, it's a sign right on 240, it says
No, no,
here.
about the 2 foot. Anyway, so I don't have the authority to go in and look, see what's going on.
oh,
in
no,
there.
that was just a sign that said something Cove. They named it some
Yeah, but there was a sign there that said no trespassing.
Private drive,
Okay.
it says private drive.
Private drive.
private drive.
Private drive, no trespassing.
Got it.
Anyway,
No, I did not go into the driveway, I just did what you did here, I looked
Yeah.
into it and see. And my findings on that were the fact that this road here,
yep,
coming
the
around,
circular, yep,
this house is using this part of the road as a driveway.
okay.
As far as I know, it does not go all the way through.
No, it does not.
And this house here is using this entrance for the driveway.
Oh, okay.
So he wants to build here, so he have to use the same entrance. So now we're looking at possibility of a shared driveway.
Okay, so we have that issue. What about, let's talk about the road itself. Is that a private road?
Not even a road anymore, it's just a couple of driveways.
So I can give a little bit of history on
Yeah,
that.
please.
Yeah.
So that was done in the 60s as part of the Blackwater development.
Yep.
And that road was etched in there. The same with Kimball Drive and Cashel Lane. And I was originally gonna go and see what the other two roads ended up being, were they private or were they town maintained? Well, Kimball Drive or Kimball Lane, I'm not sure which one it is a town maintained road, whereas Cashel Drive is a private road. So it leads me to go even more up in the air of what this is. So now it looks like it's a paper road to me when I looked at it, because it never got fully built, but the road also now serves two houses on it, so it kind of looks like a shared driveway that was built across the right-of-way.
But the town doesn't have anything to do with maintaining it, right?
No, the town does not maintain it.
And your intention is to keep it that way? Is
Yep.
that correct?
Yep.
So have you talked with the other 11-4 property
Yes,
owner?
my daughter.
And
That helps.
do you have some kind, well, suppose she sells the property to somebody who doesn't like you,
Yeah.
then what?
Well, it's a shared driveway, so I'm not sure, I mean, she doesn't own this part of the road that goes into her home. It's, I don't know, it's like no man's land. Nobody owns that piece of the road.
So
She
you-
owns
so if-
from
if-
that dotted
if-
line into her,
If this is all private property, you don't need a driving permit, right?
well, I don't know.
Probably gonna need one to build, right?
Yeah,
For
to
building
build,
permit.
right.
You're
You
gonna
need
need
to
a
drive
driveway.
permit.
Yeah,
You
because
also need a driveway.
I did have Emmett look at it.
Yeah.
He
Now the
told me
question-
what has to be done to make it a official driveway.
You have talked to Emmett about it?
Yes, he went down and looked at it.
Okay, and what was his recommendation?
He recommended that, where I was gonna put the driveway, to dig down 12 inches, he said that's what we would do.
So he wants you to bring it up to code?
Yes,
That
not the
means-
long driveway,
No,
just
no, not
the
beyond
new
your
one.
house,
The new one,
just up to your house.
yes.
And is
Yeah.
the driveway, what's the state of it? I mean, is it gravel?
It's gravel, it was whatever it was back in the 70s, there was no codes in that era, so you just laid a little bit of dirt down or gravel down and pack it down with your vehicle. So that means you'll have to dig it down to wherever he told you to dig it down, and you need to put asphalt at the end of the driveway for 3 feet.
In the woods?
No, not in the woods.
No.
No, out next to the road,
Where it accesses Cloten Bridge.
where access is Coastal Bridge.
Why,
That's what we have for codes today. And
Well,
any-
I'm not doing anything with that beginning part of it. I don't own that road, and my daughter doesn't own the road, so I'm gonna maintain it, I'm
Okay,
gonna
so
plow it.
all right, he's not having you do anything from the road in?
No.
Just your, from that,
No,
by the way, into your
right,
driveway?
right.
Okay,
Uncle Sherm did a good job, didn't he?
I did ask him to, since my daughter drives down the road, I'll be driving down the road, I'm gonna have him put hardback all the way down, from Clothespin.
But who, nobody knows who owns this, right? It could be the town, it could be,
I can't find any information that says, well, I mean, according to the plan, it's a, I don't know what, they don't even say in the Blackwater plan what kind of road it is.
don't. And I've been
But-
digging for it for about 3 weeks now to try to find something.
But the
I still
boundary
haven't
lines
found
on this drawing here don't include the road.
so let's look at your,
You have pins that are set on the edge of the road
Yes,
on the river,
yes.
right? Yeah.
Exactly.
So it's just a road that existed and never got put into
Yeah, I don't know
Class 6 or
how
Class
it got
5.
changed from this original design, or, nobody seems to know. It just happened, I guess, when they started building. That one picture shows where the driveway will go. It's an old logging road.
okay, and how,
Well, it's gonna be kinda hard to determine what it actually is. In 1970s, was it any of us around or anybody in town around that can help us with information on this?
well,
Right.
if he comes up with a plan, in other words, how many feet? How, you know, what's the radius on his corners?
Yeah, I did that all, it's in the permit application.
Yeah, I was just looking at that.
37 feet wide. The radius is 13 feet wide driveway.
And how long is your driveway?
It's about 100 feet.
So if we give a permit for the driveway, does that mean we're liable? I mean,
So
Well, I
I'm
think-
not sure what the,
what does that obligate the town to do?
I would have to look into that, but I'm not sure, like I said, if it's a private road or if it was a class 5. Because normally, if it's a class 5 road, that means Emmett would answer to calls and would have the authority to go in there to check on it. But if it's private, then he doesn't need anything. That's kind of the limbo I'm in right now.
Yeah. Yeah, it says any access way serving more than 2 properties is considered a private road beyond the purview of these driveway regulations. Will be considered by the planning board in conjunction with a subdivision proposal.
It's already been subdivided. Back
Yeah,
in the
weird.
60s, late 60s, Stevens and Wunderlich
Yep.
did the whole setup. So,
I think
been there for longer than a
always
lot
have
of
the town
people.
attorney look into it too. if he
Yeah,
wanted to.
I'm inclined to wait and figure out what the town attorney says about this road. I mean, you're not starting to build next week, are you?
No, I want to just get going on getting that building application.
Yeah, so let's table this.
You want to make a motion so that I can contact the
We
town
also,
attorney
we
with the
also
question?
need to find out if a shared driveway, not an application, but a shared driveway permit, or however you want to put it, basically would be applicable in this case. So when you talk to the attorney, check on that shared driveway thing.
Shared driveway, got it, status of the road. Is there anything else you want me to ask?
Well, what's the, I mean, if we approve the driveway, what does that mean? What's the meaning, what it means?
I wouldn't think we'd have a whole lot of choice where it's already a legal subdivision. It's got all
Yeah,
the permits.
that's
and
my feelings too.
I mean, that Bartlett's the one that's surveyed. Everything is surveyed. You got deeds to it.
Right,
It's
right.
pretty much, it's a
I mean,
house lot.
do we have to, does the town have to plow that road?
No, I wouldn't
No.
think they would.
No, the town
They
doesn't touch
haven't
it.
for all these years, so I don't know why they're gonna have to start today.
Yeah, but somebody's gonna raise their hand and say, I want that plowed.
Well, that would have to come in front of
Well,
town meeting.
If it was a class 6 road and it was eventually built upon, there would be a waiver in the deed stating that the town has no obligation to maintain that road, that driveway. That's pretty standard fare when that happens.
Okay. So let's look into this a little more, maybe come back next month.
Yep.
Come back next month and we'll have a better idea. Because
Okay.
right now, this is the first time I've seen all this.
Okay.
I appreciate your putting this packet together. It's helpful to us.
So I know that,
That'll give us a chance to go over and take a look at it for one thing.
okay, because I know Emmett wants to do something before the snow flies, so.
I will
Just,
go as fast as I can.
Yeah, no, I know.
Okay.
Okay,
I'm
thank
thinking
you.
all right, thank you.
if he got an answer before the next meeting,
Yeah, that'd be nice.
what do you guys think of that? I mean, if he calls them, they say tomorrow or something, that it's A-okay, you good with that? Or you want-
I'm not following you.
If,
You think about
Russell-
conditional approval again?
right, a conditional approval, if Russell finds out that everything is all right and there's nothing that, I don't see where we can stop that because it's already there.
Yeah,
And there's people going in and out
right,
as it is, and if it all is in the lots are there
yeah.
way before
There's,
time.
yeah, that's right. There
And-
is,
and
there is
I-
that issue of a shared driveway, though.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, I mean,
How many houses are out there? 3?
2 at the moment.
2?
There
And-
are 2 houses out there that use that
That entrance?
particular roundabout road there, whatever you wanna call it. But the road does not go all the way through, because I did drive in from this side to see where his property was, and it got to here, and this, your daughter's house,
Yes.
it's all built in, so I could not go all the way through. So,
So in effect, there are two driveways, one
so
serving one house
basically,
and one
basically
serving
it's
two.
serving 2 driveways, yes. And back when those driveways were put in, there was no driveway application permits, no zoning, no planning board, no nothing, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was all put in and approved.
The good old days.
Yeah, I guess the only issue I have is with shared driveway. I mean, what happens if there's a dispute in the future, you know?
Have to have it put down right. You guys are each
For-
responsible for half and half.
So
Something
is
like
it,
that.
if you find something out from the attorney, can you get in touch with me, or?
Yes, I will.
That'd be
That's fine.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Would that be legal and binding doing it that way, or does it need to come before the planning board again?
So, that's up to the board. If you did a conditional thing where I found out it was all fine and you wanted to do that, I could move forward that way. If we wanted to bring it up at the next meeting, we could bring up what I found at the next meeting.
I mean, we can still notify the gentleman.
Right, and I can let the board notify,
But
I'll
before he
notify
does
you with
any
the
work on
results
it,
as well.
we wanna make sure that the board approves it.
Right.
Is everybody okay with that? That we put it off for a month?
Yeah, I guess if that's what you guys want to do.
Yeah, and then I'll bring up the results at the next meeting and I'll let you know
Yeah,
as soon
that'll,
as I get something back.
yeah. Is that okay?
I really, yeah, I'm okay with that. I really don't see any reason why it won't go, because it was all done way before.
Well, then we should do a conditional approval, because that way,
He could get going.
if
If it-
it's all okay and we find out right away, then we wouldn't have to wait, you wouldn't have to wait a month to start.
All right, would you want to make a motion?
You do this one.
I'll make a motion that we give him a conditional use hinging on what Russell finds out for, the shared driveway part of it and that, and,
With the town attorney?
town.
Yep.
Yeah, after we hear back from that, if everything is all good, it's all set. That's what I say.
Who
Second.
does the plowing of the driveway now?
I do.
You do.
So we have a motion on the table. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Okay, conditional approval.
Can always, if we find out it's not
Right, it's not
okay,
binding.
then the approval's gone.
Yeah.
So
It should
it's
probably
more efficient.
be okay, because,
Well, yeah.
It's
it
there.
It makes
Yeah.
people happier. We like happy people, right?
We do.
All right, the next item is the second hearing on the wetlands ordinance. There were four major
Great.
changes to the
Yeah,
last.
open the hearing.
Oh, yes. We're going to open the hearing on the,
It's 6:59.
at 6:59. Thank you, Russ.
No problem.
I think you're here.
I'm a little new at this game. The hearing on the wetlands ordinance. A month ago, we had a public hearing, and there were a number of very good comments. We took those to heart. We made some changes. And I think the first thing I'd like to do is go over the changes that were made. If I can find those changes.
Yeah, it's on page 14 of this.
Thank you. Yeah, okay.
Giant
yeah.
packet.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So, it seemed like a lot of the questions could have been answered last month by just saying that things are grandfathered. In other words, existing structures, they are what they are. They don't need, they're not going to be affected by this ordinance. So we stated that, section 4 purposes, page 4. Three Webster citizens mentioned that they lived on lots smaller than 2 acres and were concerned about being able to modify their structures. So we reduced the buffer size for small lots to 50 feet from the edge of wetlands. 2 Webster citizens were concerned with the ordinance would prohibit storage of petroleum products. Now, we didn't change any, in other words, you still can't store petroleum within the buffer, okay? That's the intent of that statement. However, we made it explicit that there's no, as long as you have an approved container for petroleum products, there's no limit to what you can store in your personal property. So we made that explicit. Other issues, modified language for permitted uses to include replacement of septic systems. There was one gentleman at least was concerned with that. Modified the language for permitted uses to include construction of docks. In other words, the state regulates the construction of docks and wetlands ordinance, and we decided that just get rid of that language from here. So there's no mention of docks and stuff in the ordinance. And we removed language regarding restrictions on vertical expansion. So those are the changes that were made. They were made by comments made by the citizens. Does anybody here have any comments?
I'm a little concerned about that petroleum storage.
Yeah.
As I told you in an email when I sent it to you, I have a feeling that's gonna be a problem. We're gonna modify the wetlands buffers so it's gonna encroach on the person's property now. So where they have been storing petroleum, now they can't do it until they move it out of the buffer zone. And I think as long as that, they do it in an approved container, they should be able to continue storing it where they're storing it.
Is there an RSA for the state, anything about petroleum products
No,
and wetlands and all that stuff?
No, they talk about oil storage containers, approved barrels.
Yeah, 55-gallon drums, stuff that,
Well,
Yeah.
those 250-gallon
Yeah,
tanks
yeah,
and stuff.
I
But
get
they
that.
don't talk about,
cause
they
you
don't
don't,
talk about that in regards to wetlands. Let me just read the section on petroleum products. Page 4.
Page 18,
Page 8.
number 4.
Oh, thank you. I'm not seeing it here. Oh, here it is. Okay, here's the item. It says, storage of petroleum products in state-approved containers properly stored are allowed in structures not within the wetlands buffer.
Which one you got that?
It's right at the top in this, on page 18.
18, I guess not the same as that.
No, they got, this is the new, here, why don't you just take this one?
Oh, I got it right there. It's just different setup here.
Is that, does that meet your criteria? Oh.
I don't see where you're reading that.
So
Read
it's
it.
basically saying that they are allowed in structures not within the wetlands buffers.
Right.
What if they're in the wetlands buffers, that it just, that doesn't make any sense.
Well, that would go along with anything that's new.
Right, but I mean, geez and crow, what if you're taking, somebody's building a new place and they've done everything the way they're supposed to, and they got a shed, and it's like,
But if it's a new place, they wouldn't be able to build it within the wetlands buffer anyway.
Right.
right, not in the buffer, but
We're
it's.
we're talking about existing things. I think
Okay,
is what we're
so
doing.
they should be exempt from anything that's going on, I think it needs to be taken right out, and that people won't be all confused over it and done.
Isabel has a comment.
Yeah, I'd just like to clarify on the grandfathering point that you made earlier, Craig, and maybe to Paul's concern. Any structure, lot, or use that's legal before this ordinance is enacted can continue. So if you are storing gasoline in your garage, even though that garage is within 50 feet of the river, for example, you are still able to store that gasoline because it's grandfathered.
So then, that answers the concern?
Yep, it's fine. I just had to bring it up because I had a concern about that.
David,
My one question on this is, based on the wording for state-approved containers, where do we find the list of state-approved containers?
good question.
Nothing is allowed.
I don't know the answer to that. I mean, there may not be. Let's go in the back here.
Okay, as far as the approved container, you can solve that one easily by state or federally approved, or there's also a fire safety underwriter's laboratory that approve them. You just have to expand what you're allowing and accomplish the same thing. However, I don't own a motorboat. I don't have a desire to have a motorboat. I have a sailboat. I have a structure within the buffer. If you pass this law, you know what the first thing I'm going to do? Is bring down a 1 gallon can of gas and store it in my shed to grandfather myself. Is that, no, that's what you're gonna, that's what people not on motorboats will, you know, and to enable them, and you're gonna have a can of gas just sitting there to maintain the grandfathering. Because you're saying for me to have gasoline on there, it has to be there as of the passing of this ordinance.
I don't believe that's what we're saying, but could be.
It's correct, though.
That's what grandfathering is.
It's what it is.
And you're not using it that way
It's-
now.
it's
You
having
can't
a-
change it.
It's real. It's,
Okay.
you stop and think about this. If he doesn't have a can of gas sitting on his beach, right? And then all of a sudden a can of gas shows up on his beach, he's in trouble. But if the can of gas is sitting there tomorrow, when he gets home tonight and puts it out there, he's not in any trouble.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
to further complicate this for you guys,
Well, go ahead, make it
To
short.
further complicate this issue, you can store it out on your dock,
Yeah,
because you guys aren't able to regulate what's on the dock or in the boat. So you could put, on your motorboat, you could store 50 gallons of gas, and actually even hook it into the engine system so that it's part of the system, rather than maintaining, say, a 5-gallon can of gas on the boat. So you need to think this one through a little bit further, I think.
Mike, you have a comment?
Well, just along the gas front, so I'm on page 8, I'm looking at Romans 7B. And, you know, this is under the section prohibited uses and activities. And by the way, let me just start by acknowledging, I watched the entire hearing. I appreciate all the work that you did. You had a great discussion. You addressed so many points that I raised, and thank you for that. And thank you for the Conservation Commission members who also listened and came up with this excellent list of recommendations that you had that night. And then Russ has done a really good job getting the info. So I really feel like we're all pulling in the same direction, and I just want to acknowledge that. But when I look at B, prohibited uses, to me, there's a non sequitur in the document, because, you know, over here it says, well, anything that's allowed can continue, but then over here it says prohibited uses. And, you know, with the average age in the room being probably over 50, I think it's really important we write this for the next generation to understand what the heck we're trying to do, because this is serious stuff. And when somebody comes along and points at something and says, that's not allowed by the law, and the law is unclear, we've created that problem for the next generation, right? So I think we have to get this right. So when I read it here, I don't see anywhere in prohibited uses that it says any existing use is grandfathered. That's where it ought to be, to make it crystal clear. I see it over on the other page. Okay?
Yeah, well, maybe we put it in the wrong spot, but I wanted to make clear that there is this grandfathering issue. Current uses, current structures are grandfathered.
But then we go on to say no. And when I made my comments that night, and I did focus on the gas issue, but I want to focus on the rest of it. Chemical fertilizers,
Right.
pesticides, insecticides, herbicides shall not be used within the district. Now, I'm wicked careful, don't get me wrong. I am not out there willy-nilly going nuts along the river. But quite frankly, when the hornets build a nest by my door, and my door is within the 50-foot buffer, I don't sneak up on them at midnight and give them a slow death, okay? I kill them with insecticide because they sting.
we all do.
Right?
Yes,
So
absolutely.
you said here that I can't do that, and I just think we have to be that clear. Now, am I gonna let it leach all over the ground and leach into the river? No, of course not. But let's write it in a sensible way that lets people live their lives and not take away those aspects. And, you know, one final point I'm gonna make about federal gas cans, if you wanna see a federal disaster, try to use one of those things and not spill a drop of gas. Okay? I spilled less gas under my
Taken right out.
unapproved cans than I
There's
ever have
nobody
with these
that's
new
polluted
federally approved
on
gas
roads.
cans. It's a
And we're not having
disaster.
issues with it.
All right, do you want to, why don't you say what you said to me?
I believe that what you're saying is, you're absolutely correct. I think we should take that section right completely out. There's nobody out there that's out here dumping gas in the water, doing all kinds of bad stuff in this town, and you're just gonna have this, so it will be, just like you said, confusing to people. They're not gonna understand, and scrap it. That's what I say.
Chris?
Craig, I want to just say that I think that where that line, the solution to this problem, where that was put, should probably have replaced some of what is in B, because that was the intent, right? So what we have on page, what is it, 4? I think it's page 4 at the top.
Well, what about Mike's and
Well, I'm
Andy's?
addressing that.
Okay,
That was his concern at the last public hearing.
right.
And on top of page 4, it sits under, and this is what I didn't understand, the replacement of it. It's under the purposes and intent of this ordinance are to blah, 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 blah. And then suddenly we come to storage of petroleum products. I think it shouldn't be there. I think instead, it should be in this section, this other section, so that there is no, what page was that? It's on page
Page
8.
22 on mine.
So instead of saying no storage of petroleum products, that contradicts what we decided on that wound up on page 4 at the top of page 4. So we're trying to fix this problem.
All right, okay.
And the best way to do that is just move what was on page 4 down. So storage of petroleum products in containers properly stored are allowed in structures,
What about,
not within the wetland buffers. And by the buffers, Paul, by reducing those buffers, it gives the landowner more actual property that is not within the buffer. So it gives the landowner more option, and that's why we did that. So it's a good thing to have reduced that to 50 feet. What do you think about that? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yep. Yep, I understand.
So, you know, I don't think that most people, you know, go throwing gasoline around in the river. And I don't think most people dump pesticides and fertilizers in the river. They use it on their lawns. But what we're trying to accomplish here is to protect the buffer. This ordinance is really about protecting the buffer. If the buffer is healthy, then the buffer will protect the wetland. So, you know, if there's an understanding, if there's sort of a more universal understanding of what this ordinance is trying to do, you know, it allows people a great deal of flexibility, we think. We're just trying to
yeah,
protect the buffer.
no, I get it.
We get that.
Yeah, we
Okay,
get that.
good.
Mike has a
Right,
comment.
just a reaction again, with B that we're talking about here, this is Roman 7B. It doesn't talk about the buffer, it says within the district, and the district is 100 feet away from the river. That means my entire property is
Is in
within
the district.
Now,
Correct.
we say that we shorten it to 50, but we don't say the district is shortened to 50, we say the buffer is shortened to 50.
Right.
So we're using mixed terms. In one case, we're calling it district, and in another case, we're calling it buffer. So for clarity's sake, what is it? Because I will tell you, I have the map of my property right here on my phone, okay? The 50-foot buffer from the Blackwater River goes through my living room and out my driveway, okay? My garage is clear. I can fill the mower in the garage, which is what I always do. I would not take the mower out by the river edge and fill it up with gas. I do it in the garage, right? But again, are you talking buffer, which is now the garage is in, I'm sorry, you're talking district, now the garage is in the district, or are you talking buffer? Where is it that this?
I agree with you. The
Right?
language is
Needs to be taken out.
when Isabel,
Well, the district includes the buffer, the wetland and the buffer. And again, Mike, not to beat a dead horse, your land, which already exists right now before the enactment of this ordinance, is grandfathered. So you can continue to do whatever you've been doing.
Good, because Claudia likes her miracle grow on the plants, right? So I mean, there's the reality of you gotta fertilize the flowers,
Yes.
so. But, again, I think then that section about the grandfathering should be here, so that it's crystal clear that these are not permitted unless it's a pre-existing thing. I won't get into Jim's comment on, I don't have gas, but I'll get gas kind of thing. I mean, because I do think there'll be an element of that. I mean, we're living responsibly out there. I served on the Conservation Commission in Boston for 10 years. I am not doing anything, I followed every single regulation when we did the erosion mitigation along the river. You know, we follow all the rules, but we have to be cautious of writing something that becomes complicated, and especially for that next generation. That's all. That's my stance and why I'm so adamant about this.
yes,
Okay, so we allow fertilizing the lawns, which I believe is a very extensive state regulation on. And without grandfather people who are fertilizing their lawns. We already have on Lake Winnipocket somebody who is, I'm very sure, in violation of the state laws who is fertilizing his lawn and has caused an algae bloom on the lake 2 or 3 times over the past 5 years. Is he grandfathered? I hope not.
No, because that's a state.
And it's already in the legal
Yeah, but you
use.
don't say anything about that. You say you can't do it.
That's
Or
not-
she's now saying, well, it's grandfathered in if you're doing it. You've got to find that middle line in there and you're not finding it.
It's
Well-
illegal, yeah.
So that's an illegal use.
That's an
That-
illegal
Illegal,
use.
you can't.
It doesn't make it legal.
And the town can't do anything about it because we have no regulations on it.
Right, but I guess what I'm saying is you've got to, you're not defining that it's illegal use of fertilizers or legal use of fertilizers. You're saying
It's
no
a s-
chemical
it's a
fertilizers.
s-
And
it's
then
a
you're
s-
saying it's grandfathered if
It's-
you're doing
it's a-
it.
No, it's a
So
separate.
you're ending up with a conflict that if this is.
No, there's no conflict. It's a separate issue.
So there's somebody that lives on Lake Winnepocket, they're already fertilizing their lawns, causing a trouble. So he lives there, right? He's gonna be grandfathered to what you're doing here.
No,
No.
How won't he be?
he's gonna get caught by somebody before.
By the state, because
It
it's against.
is
the-
So the state has a state law.
Yes.
Okay, so how come we don't have an RSA in this saying that with the state law? If you guys are gonna try to do something like this here, should have some sort of an RSA going back to the state. Right?
Well, I mean, are you asking us to put in fertilizer?
No, I'm not, I wanna see B out because it's just causing too much, I mean, you're not gonna have a state-approved container for fertilizer, you're not gonna have one for pesticides, insecticides, herbicides. You buy them in a bag. They come in a bag, that's what you got, that's how it's sold. And all of us will have, we all have stuff in our garages with herbicides, whatever.
Let's hear from Isabel.
Just real quick, just on the question of legal and illegal activity, the definitions I think are pretty good. And they talk about legal non-conforming structure, legal non-conforming use, legal non-conforming lot, and that speaks to the question of what's legal
I
and
understand
illegal.
that, and I agree with you there. But when you have conflicts within your document, that is fertilizer for the lawsuit. And that is where you're going to, I mean,
Just what it is.
that's the problem, is if you don't define it right now, somebody's going to argue this.
Mike, do you have a comment?
Just another suggestion, so an observation. When I look under permitted uses, Roman 6, number 8, which now talks about timber harvesting and forestry,
Yes.
and it's written in a positive. It doesn't say you can't timber harvest and you can't forest. It says if you're gonna engage in those activities, you have to follow all the existing laws and do things the correct way, right? So why can't we do the same thing with the gasoline fertilizer piece to say, and I think there's an education piece that we all have to continue to, get out there with folks so that they understand what best management practices are. I know a forester goes to professional development training and so forth to make sure that they understand the laws and follow it, but the homeowner may not do that, right? So, but I'm wondering why we couldn't write it in that positive and just say, you have to do it correctly, right?
Right, no, I think you're onto something there. I tend to agree with you. Yes,
I mean, one thing with the fuel is containment system. Most places using large storage have the first container and then a containment system around it. That would be,
Yeah, but
that would be something that, living on the lake, I would think would be a good idea.
well, that may be, but that would, in my view, that would be overregulation. I mean, how far do you want to go with this is the question. You're saying,
I mean, just putting your can of gas into a tub is a containment system. You now have 2 barriers to break.
yeah, let's let this one go
Okay.
here. So, want me to make a motion, or should somebody else want to make a motion?
I still have some points on the way you've, some of the things in here.
All right, let's hear what you got. Make it short.
Section 7A. 1, 2, and 3. I can't decide whether they deal with emergency repairs or if this is new construction, what exactly you're trying to say here. If my power line goes down, do I have to get CUP? If my driveway washes out and I lose
No,
the
no,
culvert?
we're talking, no. Your existing structures, power lines, driveway, house, garage, are all grandfathered. No, you're not gonna have to get any permit to do
Repairs?
repairs.
Where does it say that?
Right up, well, right where it says
it's
grandfather.
grandfathered for its present use, it doesn't say a thing about repairs. That I noticed.
Well,
Where you are.
I mean, this is a wetland, this is not a building
Section
ordinance.
1, 2, and 3 of Part A.
Section 8 or 8?
8, B-I-I-I.
On page 8.
I don't know what page, because I,
Uses permitted by
Okay.
condition.
Oh, okay.
I mean, this is a wetlands ordinance, it's not a building ordinance.
right, but what I'm saying is, you're trying to define all this stuff, and what you put down on this paper is what's going to be the law.
Yeah, that's right.
And you're not saying whether people can do repairs to 3 very vital structures. Their power lines, their driveways and drainage.
Do we have to put grandfathered after every word? I mean, that's about what
And
I'm
you
up
ever
to.
read the Internal Revenue Code? Bottom line is laws have to be drawn very carefully, or people do not understand them, which causes them to either not follow them or spend years arguing in court.
It does, by the way, under E, number 1, D, restoration, reconstruction, and/or replacement of structures containing a legal non-conforming use. Nothing prevents restoration, reconstruction, and/or replacement within 2 years of a structure destroyed in whole or in part by fire or other natural disasters. So it is
And power
there.
lines and driveway structures, I mean, I would assume a structure to be a building.
I can give another example, real life example, right? So we decided to put up a fence. And it's right along the river, you can see it, I think it looks pretty nice. But as my wife and I are out there digging the holes and putting the fence up, somebody else from town stops the car, hops out, you're gonna love this, Betsy. They come up to me and they say, does Betsy know you're putting this fence up? And I said, why would Betsy care if I'm putting a fence up? And they said, well, because she does all the environmental stuff in town. I said, the fence is okay. And I said, let me explain to you why we're putting the fence up. Along the riverbank, we spend a significant amount of money doing erosion mitigation. If the fishermen stand on the socks that are there and knock it off, it destroys the work. So I'm actually protecting the road and our land by putting this fence up with a, please don't fish your fish over there. Pretty simple request, right? I don't think Betsy cares because it looks nice. But here's why I'm raising it. Because here it says I have to have a permit for fencing, number 5, under where a gym is. Right? Now, I don't have a fence now, so it's not grandfathered.
What page you
I'm on page 8, Roman 8, number 5. The board may grant CUPs for fencing. I don't have a fence, so it's not an existing use, but it is now. But in theory, if this had passed and then I decided to put the fence up, are you saying I couldn't put a fence up? I have to come for a CUP? And by the way, you may or may not grant the fence, and I may or may not have the ability to stop people from coming on my land. I mean, this is what, to Jim's point, this is why we have to really get this right. Because I don't think anybody's intent is to say you can't put up a nice looking fence.
And a fence is a structure. When you get all over and done with, they classify a fence as a structure.
And
That's
again,
real.
Claudia and I, we didn't put up a stockade fence that blocks the view of the river. We put up in fact, we got inspired on Cape Cod. There are fences like this all over the Cape. They're beautiful. We're like, let's enact that. That's the best solution to this, right? So how do we all work together to make sure that we can manage the land, do what we need to, and not have an overreach in the regulation?
I think,
Betsy, next time I'll call you.
I hear you. I think your comments are right on.
Does the committee have to start from scratch?
Yeah, it does, because I'm not voting for it.
There's a lot
Just
of good in
things
here,
that need
There
to be.
is a lot of
Yeah,
good in here.
but there's a
we just
lot
gotta
that-
get it fixed. Fix it right, so it's, people
Well-
understand it.
For another section that has, I mean, it's an interesting one. Roman numeral 6A6, removal of trees and other vegetation that pose a safety hazard. Okay.
I'm sorry, where
Let
are
me
you?
ask what,
Page 7, number 6 in the middle of the page.
let me ask what the thought pattern here was before I say what I see as problems with
It's
this.
a permitted use.
Right. But what happens if it doesn't involve a safety hazard? It's a not permitted use.
It says, there's an or there, removal of trees is
Or other
permitted,
vegetation.
or vegetation posing a safety hazard.
Right, if it's not a safety hazard.
You can remove your trees. It's an or. You got first part, second part, either one. It's not an and.
I'm not following you.
It's not the trees that have to be a safety hazard, it's the other vegetation. Is that what you're saying?
I don't
The
think that's
statement, I
very
think,
bad.
is number 6, if
Well, it's
I'm
both.
following you. It says removal of trees or other vegetation that pose a safety hazard.
Yeah.
So if it poses.
Trees or other vegetation is the way I would say that
All
that
right,
or
all right,
works.
you're right.
A vine.
Well, you know,
Yeah,
the
but
town, by state ordinance, the town has a right to remove trees if it's a
No, no,
safety
no.
hazard.
I'm not saying if it's a safety hazard, I'm fine with that, and you've covered safety hazard. I'm saying, I don't like that piece of vegetation, and I wanna take it out. The way this reads, I can't do that.
No, it's permitted use.
No, it says, the following uses are permitted. Removal of trees or other vegetation that pose a safety hazard. That is the only way we can remove plants.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I see
Yeah.
what you're saying.
It's gotta be, needs to be.
It doesn't say within the buffer, it says in the
It
district.
says that is,
In the district, in the district, in the district.
Well, okay,
Do you see the
Scrap the
problems with
other,
that?
just put
yeah,
removal of trees or vegetation that proposes.
yeah, I agree.
Take the other out.
I mean, my wife, when she saw that, started wondering, does that mean you can't, weed a garden, a flower garden that's within the buffer? There are people who have gardens within the buffer.
Is your wife a lawyer?
No, she's a gardener. But removal of vegetation, I mean, you've got to figure out what you guys are trying to do there, because,
Yeah, but you're,
Just take the or, the other off.
yeah,
no, that doesn't solve it, Addie.
It doesn't?
No.
why not?
Trees or vegetation
Wait a
that
minute.
proposes a
What
hazard?
does removal of vegetation mean? Does that mean pulling it out by its roots, or does that mean cutting it off?
Either way you wanna get rid of it, I don't care.
Okay, so you can't cut that vegetation?
Huh?
You can't cut
Let's,
vegetation?
let's cut this off, Jim.
No,
You're
no,
going, you're
no,
going, you're
no,
going down a
I
deep
mean-
rabbit hole here.
I mean.
You gotta
need to
get rid of it
understand,
however you gotta get rid
Lawsuits
of
are
it.
all about absurd things. And you're saying if you can't remove vegetation, and that includes cutting, that means you can't cut your lawn because that's removing vegetation.
No, it's not.
That,
No,
you guys are writing a law that people have to
No,
obey.
you're,
They have to understand what that law covers.
I think removal means something other than cutting. Removal means actually taking it out and taking it away. If you're gonna dig up your whole lawn, you removed it. If you're cutting
Okay,
it, you're not removing it.
that's fine if that's the definition, but
Well,
Well,
remove,
you
we're
just
gonna-
heard from Abby that it involves.
we're gonna change this, all right?
Yeah, we're gonna fix it.
All right, so you don't have to kind of beat that one anymore.
To me, it all falls under grandfather.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not the ones in charge of writing this. Right?
Well,
The,
it's the subcommittee, which is part of the planning board and the code committee.
yeah, it's kind of a
It's both boards.
dual thing. I was really hoping that we wouldn't have to do any more changes.
We're gonna though.
We're gonna have.
You're done, you're not done.
Like,
Um,
it wasn't done this year either.
No, it's, because there's too much stuff on there that needs to be really, like, fixed.
okay.
That-
So, what I'm hearing is that we have some more work to do here.
Mm,
That's what I'm hearing.
yeah.
Do you agree?
And then agree?
No.
You can't,
Susan, do you agree we go back and rewrite some of this?
It clearly is not satisfactory the way it is.
Yeah, okay.
yeah, and you only got a few people that are
Yeah.
questioning it. You don't have you don't have 100 that are gonna start. There's a lot of people that probably have not read this or seen it. And, you know, you're gonna get, it's gotta be right.
Okay.
If we're gonna write it forever, it's
Yeah.
gonna be right, or we're not writing it.
David?
That's that.
Well, since it sounds like you're going to be writing some of this again for another go, I want to point out one thing around the pesticide use, for example. And not necessarily specifically hornets or anything else, but if you have a homeowner that has a home and doesn't currently have a problem, a existing non-conforming use of pesticides would not apply to hiring a professional company to take care of a problem at their house. And so when you're looking at things, for example, whether it's spraying for hornets or, rats and mice or something else, that should be taken into account as well.
Okay, thanks.
What's he saying, hire it now?
Well, we haven't, the case where some homeowner hires a professional pesticide company or even fertilizer company, is that good, is that bad?
Not everybody can afford it.
Well, yeah, but,
That's the way you gotta look at it.
well, his point is, what, do you want to address that?
Because that would not be that would not be a current legal non-conforming use that would be grandfathered.
Yeah, so that needs to be addressed.
But honestly, a company is gonna come in and do it legally. You know, you're not hiring Jimmy Bob down the street, you're hiring JP Pest. They have regulations they have to follow, so.
Right.
On some level, you assume that they are doing it in best practices, where if you put it under the permitted piece with the expectation that it be done correctly, may help.
Right.
And again, to Abby's point,
Not everybody can afford it. You
Yeah,
take an
no.
80-year-old woman that's living from Social Security, they can't do that. They got mice, they do
Absolutely.
the best they can.
Absolutely correct.
So you gotta take that into consideration, that people, not everybody's a millionaire.
And do not assume that the professionals do it right. I know a couple of landscaping companies that are rather sketchy, to
Right?
say the least.
Yeah, they're gonna go for the money, so if it
Yeah.
needs double dose of fertilizer, they're gonna put it on. If they can make an extra 200 while they're there, they're gonna do it.
Well, they also want that green lawn as fast
Right.
as possible, because that's what the
Yeah,
homeowner
and the
wants.
landowner wants it too.
Yeah.
Just like my hay fields, I wanna see them green up. And if that's what it takes, that's what it takes.
Okay. Any other comments before we close this hearing? Then we're going to close the hearing right now,
7:39.
7:39.
Full hour.
Thank you for coming, all your comments.
Craig, may I ask a question?
Yes.
The changes that were made, did you make a list of what you all feel needs to be modified?
So I will make a list, since it's recording. I was taking notes, but I'm also gonna
Just-
listen to the recording and put it
Okay.
in the minutes.
Okay,
Isabel?
I'm not finished yet. And then, sorry, once you have the changes that need to be made, will you contact us to help out in the writing of it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, my question was just, what was your decision on what you're gonna do with the rewrite?
Well, I want to see what Russ's notes, and then we're going to have another meeting to iron some of this out.
Craig, could you just back plan? Your goal is to have this on the ballot in March. So when you have to have it posted for the warrant, and so how much time and how
I
many meetings?
think we're looking at December.
On the 5th Tuesday before town meeting is actually what it says in the law that we need the final language by.
Yeah, and realistically, I think we're looking at December.
So we have time.
Yeah, we have time.
And
We can have,
whenever I open my mouth, I'm also willing to work. So don't be shy about inviting me to a meeting, if there's a meeting be held.
well, I tell you
Let me know.
what would be helpful to me is if you just made a list of your issues
Happy
and
to.
and send it to me.
Yep.
Send me an email with your issues.
Happy to do it.
Mike, we would love them.
Just
Your help.
let me know when I'd be happy to.
Okay, great.
Yeah, the more, I mean, so many people have already looked at this, and the more people that look at it, the better it gets, really. So, yes. Any other comments, questions? All right, we have a couple other things. I think we still have time. It's 20 to 8 here. Are we okay?
Yeah, we're okay. Sorry, I'm paranoid.
The planning board recommendations on TOP lots 10-5-148 and 10-6-64. Do you want to help us out with that?
So what's the first number? I'll pull it up. Because I put maps in your packet.
What is TOP?
Town-owned property.
So,
And I think it was 10-1. It should be on the agenda. What's my agenda?
It's way in the back.
And then I can tell you where it is and I can show you on the map. I know.
That's all right, Russell.
I tried to
You're doing
make
your
it-
job, you're doing your
I
job.
tried to organize it.
Can you
where,
tell me where this is?
yeah, where is it?
So that's New London Drive. And I can show you on the map.
Okay, I just wanted
So
to
I'm gonna pull up the map for you.
just wanted to quick.
So it's in Pillsbury Lake.
Oh, all right, I figured it was probably at Pillsbury Lake.
It's way in the back.
664
I'm not quite
New
all
London
the way.
Drive.
Here we go.
I really wish it were just in
That's all the drafts.
But it's right at the bottom.
Oh, all right.
You're getting there.
Oh, my God.
There you go.
All right, thank you.
So it's right on the bottom of Pillsbury Lake. So like right there, that's Deer Meadow Road. That would be our wonderful Nero place. So it's on the bottom of the lake, going towards the Concord side.
Okay.
Which one are we doing first?
So I think we're looking at 10-1-64 or 10-6-64?
10-6-64? Okay.
Yeah, so Dana's just looking for recommendations from the planning board as if to sell the property. Because we've received requests of people interested, butters interested in purchasing it.
We
And
have,
we would like to get it back on the tax rolls.
do we have any set price, what we're gonna get for it?
So we can only take the back taxes.
Okay.
So Dana usually finds out the cost based on the back taxes and what we spent on the property. And then we start that as the bidding process.
So
So that would be the starting bid, and then people can bid for it, and anything extra would go, if it was a tax deed property, would go back to the previous owner.
Yeah,
that back taxes on that property amount to around $4,000.
I would have to check with Dana, but it might be.
Well, just my math, what I did with it,
Yeah,
it's around $4,000.
plus whatever, if we've had to do anything for the lot, and whatever we did to
Well,
put it
that was my,
up for
that was
sale.
my concern, if we're gonna just get rid of it, or if we're gonna try to get our taxes back.
We get our taxes back.
Okay.
Both of them?
It would be the same for both.
Yeah, so let's just, I make a motion, we go ahead and let them sell it to the landowners, the butters,
Butters, yeah, they'll have to notify,
notify the butters.
and also put a notice, a public notice out,
Yeah, we do that.
yeah.
Yeah.
I second your motion.
Oh, you second? Aye.
All in favor of Eddie's motion to allow the town manager to sell these properties?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Okay, master plan recommendations and follow-up discussion.
So I did a summary of all the objectives that I found in the master plan. There might be a couple I missed, but I think I did a pretty good job of going through it. And kind of, I labeled it by categories of who was responsible for what, and did a brief sentence on each recommendation. So this was the, we've received a couple of requests from people about seeing how far the town has actually gotten in the master plan. So I figured we could split it up, contact the boards that were responsible in the offices, send them each a letter, and they can tell us how far they've gotten. That's my thought.
All right, I,
And some of them are plain equal stuffed as well.
yeah, I took a look at, the master plan. We're talking about the master plan.
Correct.
And there are some recommendations in there about, what the people in the town want. And it would be good to, I think, if I'm hearing you correctly, is compare, here's what's stated and here's where we're at.
Right. And like it said, when they do the master plan, it's kind of a set of goals. We don't necessarily have to meet it, but this is, while stating this is the direction we'd like to go in. And I was pleasantly surprised when I reviewed it, just in my time being here, like a lot of the stuff has actually been accomplished.
All right. So I'm okay with any way you want to approach this,
All right,
because I'm sort of at a loss here.
that's fine.
Well, I guess it would be, I think I looked at some of them, and I didn't get into it too heavy, so I'll check it out, but I mean, there are a lot more stuff that we need to definitely address, right?
Yeah.
The petroleum thing is, that's
It's
a,
it's a problem.
yeah, no, I think it needs to be.
Yeah.
And it would make things
Yeah, I think this
simpler,
is,
and it would,
there
Except,
was,
When
except
do
that
we-
is one of the worst things to happen, is a bad oil or gas spill into wetlands. So it's like, we gotta try to prevent that.
you do have to try to, but the trouble with it is, an accident can happen.
Oh, yeah,
Anything can happen. I had a log truck get hit by a car, dumped the fuel.
yeah, yeah,
It's not my fault, right?
yeah.
And that's how that went.
But if we don't put anything in there,
Oh.
then it's,
No matter how you word that, it's not gonna go by somebody.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
except, we don't have to have 100% approval. Every single voter doesn't have to agree with everything. It is the majority.
Well, I understand what you're saying, but a number of people have brought this up as an issue. It's an issue for Addie, too. And the more I think about it, what Mike was saying, there's, people in town are not malicious.
No, nobody's doing things intentionally.
And so.
You know, if somebody was doing something intentionally, it's gonna be like Winnapocket with
Well,
True
like,
Green coming in
as
and
we
dumping
heard, that
double
there are.
dose of,
Yeah, that there's,
they're worse than the average
oh, yeah,
person, for sure. You got an issue with that. That True Green guy coming down there and making that guy's lawn look like a golf course.
yes,
There's
and then
your
it all
problem.
washes into
The rest of
into
them
the lake.
have leaves, they've got, you know, the average place over there, they don't want the lawn, they don't wanna have to deal with mowing the lawn when they get there on the weekend. Nobody is dumping gas in the
Yeah,
lake
I-
or the river, or,
I think I look at this as a political issue, you know, as, do you want this thing to pass or not? And,
well, just,
I mean,
there's
the
enough.
wording is convoluted, and like Jim can, you know, poke holes in it all over the place.
Yeah, well, he's a lawyer.
Is he a lawyer?
Yeah, he,
That's,
yeah, he is a lawyer, so
I didn't
it's
know he
like,
was a
yeah.
lawyer.
No, he
What's
just,
our timetable on getting this to the select board?
I,
Like I said, we have time.
Well, my understanding from David is it doesn't go to, we're talking about the wetlands ordinance,
Yeah.
right?
The wetlands ordinance goes through you guys.
It doesn't go to the,
Yep.
it goes,
So you,
it goes to the,
No, we have a timeline where it's got to be ready for town meeting.
right.
What?
I guess that's what I'm asking.
So the final language, like I said, has to be done, I don't know the exact date, the 5th Tuesday before town meeting. You
I
have to
believe
have the
sometime
final
in
language
February,
ready.
they have the mock town meeting.
Right.
That's gonna be ready for
And
them.
normally, this process, we've started the process a little bit early, which
Yep.
is a good thing in this case, because we're doing a lot of revisions. But we have time, we have at least 2 to 3 months to work on this.
and you can't do something that's gonna affect kids, people down the road, years down the road. You know what I mean? It's-
yeah.
You gotta
I-
be,
Yeah.
I mean,
He resigned,
Oh, really?
who was that?
Dave did, at the select board meeting.
Really?
So he's no longer an alternate.
Oh, sorry about that.
That's not a good thing.
So you're not a selectman anymore?
No,
I'm not the
Oh,
alternate for the planning board.
Yeah.
Oh, but you're still on the
okay.
select board.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Nothing else changed.
All right, all
All right,
right.
yeah,
When you said you resigned
Yeah, I
at
don't
the
wanna have a
select
heart
board meeting,
attack
I
here,
thought,
man.
wait,
No. I thought I followed that with as the planning board alternate.
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where were we here?
we just can't pass something without it being thought right completely from start to end
Well,
and have it right.
yeah.
If we're gonna do this, if this is gonna be a master plan, it needs to be,
this isn't the master plan, that isn't the master plan,
well,
that's the
what,
wetlands ordinance.
right, but that's going in it,
Right, that is one of
going in it.
the,
Oh,
one of
okay.
the objectives of the
Yes,
master
so
plan.
that's
So,
what you
I
need.
think the problem, this thing is too convoluted, okay? I mean, it's written by a couple lawyers.
Yeah.
Sue Roman.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't like the even numbering, I don't even like the numbering. I mean, the
No,
thing
too
is,
many pages.
it's too big, it's too, you know, they're trying to cover every base. And I think the solution is to just cut it down, make it simpler.
Yep, I'm good with that.
Uh,
That's what it needs to be. You're right. You know, I mean,
Wish we
like,
could hire somebody.
well, there is, a
You already
perfect,
hired her.
perfect landlord, lawyer that I use all the time, Amy Manzelli.
And you already
know,
hired her.
And I used her, all the land deals I do, I have her look at everything. And she's on it.
Yeah,
She's
no,
busy right
she's
now,
very,
though.
she's very good.
Yeah.
Everybody I've talked to says
Yeah,
she's
no,
really.
she's the best.
She's looked at this wetlands ordinance and said, looks okay. I mean, she didn't
Yeah.
look at it in the way that, yeah. But in terms of legality, it looked okay.
Well, there's still though, I mean, you're taking some of the,
I mean, if we just got,
gotta keep it basic. So,
I tend to agree with Addie.
Yeah.
This petroleum stuff is.
needs to go, because that's just not, I
Well,
mean,
what
that,
about what about the fertilizer and all that
Right, you're
stuff?
taking all the rights away from people that,
You have to be careful because a lot of the things, the frustrating thing is that there are state laws that take care of most of these
right,
things.
you-
And so,
your RSA's, there's gotta be an RSA that would cover
I
something.
mean, what are we doing that is different from what the state laws already are?
We're not doing anything, cause you don't have any crimes committed.
Well, no, but I
As
mean, what
far
is
as-
the purpose of this? Other than what's already in state law? I guess that's my question.
Well, right now, my understanding, I think, and you can correct me, is there's a 25-foot buffer around wetlands or stuff, right? You can't.
In the state?
That's a state,
Yeah.
a state law.
I'm not sure what the buffer is for the state. I'd have to look that up.
Yeah. So what they're doing is increasing it, and they've identified all over town,
Yeah.
wetlands
Yeah.
and streams,
The districts.
districts. Now, that's a confusing term, between district and buffer. I mean, that, you have to be consistent, you know, or at least define it. This is the monster that keeps poking its head up.
Well, the thing of it is, there's people that we don't see and that haven't seen this, and if they start to catch on to this, we ain't seen nothing yet. That's what I'm
Yeah.
telling you.
Well, yeah, John Pearson came in and that was his comment.
Yeah, I haven't seen him, I mean, I don't,
Yeah, I know.
yeah.
I mean, that side of town, it's just like Jim, you know, they're gonna find some little thing and they say, oh man, this is all screwed up. No, there's one little thing, you screwed up on one little thing and you die. That's the sword you die on.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna have to do one more reading of this thing.
Do you want to schedule another work session?
So, well, yes, let's put together another work session, maybe in 2 weeks. Can we do it in 2 weeks?
I won't be able to make it. What will that be, the 11th, around November 11th? I'll be out of commission from 11th to,
Deer hunting.
no, I'm going and get new hip put in.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, so November 11th, I'm supposed to be going in, and I'll be 2 weeks after that before I can motor. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Let me pull up a calendar.
Well, good luck with that.
Oh, yeah, no, I was in yesterday, did all the pre-op stuff, so,
Everybody I've had hip stuff has said it's great.
yeah, we'll see. They're not in the logging business, or farming, right?
Well,
I
at
don't
least
know. George Little up on Little
Yeah.
Hill Road, he had his hip done and he said, it's because I want to be able to get back on my tractor. And that was when he was 80-something, and he got back on his
Yeah,
tractor,
yeah,
so
he was a good
he was
guy.
still farming.
He was a good guy.
He was a character.
He was the best. Need a few more of them.
Can you,
What would we doing?
So looking at the calendar, do we want it to be on the Tuesday or Thursday?
well,
Or
the
do we
10th is
just-
what, a Tuesday? That's the first day of deer season.
The 10th is Wednesday,
We could
and
do-
there's a conservation commission meeting that night.
And what about the Tuesday?
The Tuesday is the 9th, and there's nothing on the 9th.
Could we have a meeting on the 9th? Are you available, Paul?
Ninth is okay.
October 9th,
October 9th?
let's do it.
Oh, you mean November
You mean
9th.
November 9th.
Oh, yeah.
November
yeah,
9th.
Right,
All right, I'll
sorry.
put that on the calendar, and we're gonna do that at 6:30, or do you want to do that at a different time?
No, that's good.
6:30 works.
Okay.
All right.
Put it on the
And
calendar.
I'm gonna have another reading of this and come in
If you
with
want-
some notes, you know.
Yeah,
these-
send
this is
us what you come up with. I mean, is that what you're gonna try to put something together, or is that what you guys are gonna
Well, I'm
try?
gonna put together what I heard at the meeting based on the
Okay.
video recording.
We
Okay.
also have, it sounds like they're gonna get together, Mike was
Well-
gonna get together with them and try to,
Well, they're gonna have to.
Yeah,
be able
let
to
me,
do that
let
at
me,
the
let me coordinate with them.
Yeah.
I have a working relationship with well, mostly Sue Roth and
Mhm.
Yeah.
Sue Roman, and they, they're very good, but it needs some tending. Let's put it that
Sue
way.
Rock must agree with that, kinda. I know Sue Roman probably does not.
Well, they're all very good in their own way, you
Yeah.
have to,
She's pretty reasonable, Sue Rock.
yeah, she's,
Yeah.
I have a lot of respect for her.
Yeah, she's a nice lady.
Do we want to meet here?
So yeah,
Yes.
we would meet up here, and
Yeah,
because there's always a chance, since it's on the subject, people will show up.
Oh, okay.
So it's better to meet in a bigger room because
All
of
right.
the whole COVID. And
So it's an official.
it's gonna be an
Okay.
official meeting, I'm gonna post it and set it up
All right.
and get you guys some minutes and some recommendations.
Can we clear the rest of this?
I think we're through most of the agenda, I think it's just minutes left.
Yeah, exactly. I just want to make sure we.
all right, so let's review the minutes. and we're-
Time for me to get crucified, my favorite part.
No. You got the date right on this one?
Sue Roth complimented me on the public hearing minutes, and I thought that was a big deal.
All right. I was here for the one in August.
I
The
think
19th?
we
Yeah.
have 3 sets because we,
Yeah, because you didn't have time to do it last time.
yeah.
Well, I'm looking at this is the work session.
Yep.
Well,
So we didn't get to approve the minutes from September or August's minutes because the September meeting went so long.
so
And
how
we tabled
about,
the rest of the meeting.
how about I move that we approve the August 19th meeting minutes
As written,
as submitted?
Yeah, I second that.
All in
That was
favor
all.
of Sue's motion to approve the August meeting minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
I have to make sure which one we're doing.
That one was the least complicated, it sounds like. I'm going to abstain from the next two because I was not here for either of them. I can't really move.
It's all about the storage. Dogs. We addressed some of that tonight, but some of it we did not get too far.
All right. I move we approve the September 16th, 2001 minutes as written.
I'll second it, because that's about basically what we went over,
Yeah.
pretty much, and
Yeah.
we're still there.
And you got all the names right on you.
I know, right?
This is good.
Where is Marlo?
I think she is on, she had, I think a date with her husband. I think it's her anniversary or something.
Oh, I don't know.
I thought it
I went
was,
to
no,
their
it's
wedding.
Dana's anniversary today. But I know she had previous plans with her husband, and that's why she said she couldn't make it.
Sorry.
We have a second on the motion?
It was already seconded, we're waiting for the vote.
Okay, let's have a vote to accept the
This is the
September
16th one, so.
16th meeting. All in favor, raise your hands.
All
Aye.
right, I'm
I'm
sorry.
abstaining. I wasn't here, so
Right,
I
I
can't.
think we have one more set of minutes. There should be
Yes,
three.
and that's for the
The work session.
work session of September 29th.
Oh, it's,
No, so much reading.
That
And,
was the petroleum.
Again, we've already covered a lot of this.
I like these, it's good, you did a good job.
This is what we covered at the very beginning of the meeting.
Yeah,
Tonight.
yeah.
I make a motion, we accept the September 29th meetings, work session meetings as written.
I second it.
All in favor, say aye.
I-
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Was that the end of the agenda, unless there's any other comments?
I think that is it.
And look at that, 8 o'clock, an hour and a half.
We gotta make a motion to close.
I move
Do
that we,
you guys know,
that we close the meeting.
Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I don't know if anybody seconded it, but who cares?
Yeah.
Craig seconded
Um,
it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's her name? What was
We don't have anything new to talk about?
No, I mean,
Well, we are closed, so I'm going to turn it off.
That's
All right.
memory lane.
Good night, everyone.
She was on the planning